Um, let's go ahead and get started, you guys. We're going to talk today about strategy. We talked yesterday about how or where to find the deals in the DMV. Um, a number of us find them in different areas, which is good. But basically, I want you guys really focused on if you're buying properties, the wholesale or flip properties. I want you focused on buying or putting properties under contract in areas that you can buy low and sell high. If you're focused on areas or strategies that are buy and hold strategies, and we're going to go over a number of different buy and hold strategies. I want you to make sure that you're buying in areas where you're cash flowing immediately, and so where you can buy low and rent high. And I think that's the main focus. I have most of you guys know me by now. I got started investing in real estate many years ago, the buy and hold strategy. And I would say it's my favorite, but I love all of them. And so today we're going to talk about wholesaling real estate. Most of you guys should have received my contract. If you didn't, just go to the chat and let me know, and we'll send you another copy of the contract. And so a lot of you guys are wholesalers. Most of you guys probably are wholesalers. But ultimately, I want you guys to be able to buy and hold and do whatever you can to buy and hold. Now, basically, as a real estate investor, there's two strategies. There's only really two strategies, and a bunch of other strategies fall underneath those two. The first strategy is the buy for cash strategy. It's your buy for cash strategy. It's active income. You're investing, let's say, like for wholesaling and flipping properties, you get paid one time and you get cash. So you wholesale real estate, you put a property under contract below market, you assign that contract to another investor, and they take it over. They pay you, I'll say cash, but they pay you an assignment fee. It's done one time. It's done very quickly, within 30 days. In the DMV, we're averaging 15, 20. Some of us average $30,000 a wholesale deal. The other buy for cash is flipping properties. It's also active income. You buy a property below market, and sometimes a wholesaler will assign the contract to you, and then you renovate the property, and then sell the property. And in our area, we get upwards, I'll say on average of about 80, 90, $100,000 on a flip. That's one time. So it's active income. The other strategy is buying for cash flow and equity and appreciation. That's your passive income strategy. That's your buy and hold, whether you're buying and holding for long term, of which I do, short term, like Airbnb, or midterm, room rentals, travel nurses, things like that. And we'll get into all of the different strategies. And under buy and hold, we'll take a deeper dive into the many different ways of buying and holding for cash flow, passive income, retirement, leaving a legacy. We'll dive into all of those things a little deeper than the buy for cash strategy. Now, I've got two of my coaching students on here, Dana and Kim. And I just wanted to, I don't know how much time I have with them, so I just wanted to get them on here really quickly and just have a short discussion as we get started on the buy for hold strategy. Again, my primary focus as throughout my career, I've got a portfolio of properties, Baltimore, have a property in Annapolis, a couple of properties in DC and Prince George's County. All of which are Section 8 rentals. It's long-term passive income. Dana, why don't you introduce yourself, And we'll talk about wholesaling because that's how you got started. But just give us an idea of how you got started and what's your buy and hold strategy.
The buy and hold or for what's the wholesale strategy?
You could
Buy
just,
and hold.
yeah, buy and hold.
Okay, my name is Dana Lewis. I've been with Greg, I guess going on 3 years now. Tried to be an investor many years ago and fell flat on my face. So I've been in Greg's program for going on 3 years, about 3 years, and since then have been very attentive to his meetings, program, everything that he has, I try to be at. So I have been able to acquire property. So I've been able to buy and hold and wholesale as well, but he said buy and hold. So buy and hold is my main objective. And so I've acquired some properties since I've been with Greg, and I still have them and I'm renting them out.
And give us a little idea of within the buy and hold strategy, what's your preference? 'Cause I think it's more so room rentals as opposed to me
Yes.
renting out long-term rental Section 8. Your strategy is room rentals.
Is room rentals. That's kind of where I migrated to. And for now, I'm happy and content with it. There's been some bumps and some bruises. 2024 was a fairly rough year, but I'm giving myself time to figure it out because for me, it's a new plateau. The room rentals is a new plateau. So I house homeless veterans, which adds to the complication because these are people who have issues and problems. They're coming off the streets. So it takes a lot of extra effort to do it the way that I'm doing it right now. I can't say that I'm gonna do this forever. In fact, Greg is trying to or convincing me to do something different, but for now, that's what I've been doing. And I'm gonna try to stick with it a little bit longer because I am a veteran and I like the fact that I'm helping other veterans, especially people who have been stranded and out and homeless on the street.
But not only that, Dana, you do it because it's more money. You feel like you can
And
make more money per room
it
versus
has a
renting out.
potential, yeah, it has potential of more money. The room rental has a potential of more money for sure. Higher profit.
Okay.
But the reason I brought up the veteran aspect is because of of who I'm renting to is a high turnover. And that kind of brings that profit margin down some and more in line with if I was to do what Greg is suggesting me to do, which is what he does, is rent to voucher holders. So really it would be the profit might work out about the same, but the work will be much less doing it how Greg's doing.
Okay, and we can get into that. And so let's bring Kim into the conversation. She's well, go ahead and introduce yourself, Kim.
Hello, everyone. I'm Kim Newman. I started with the Bennett Boot Camp, probably might be going on 2 year, well, a year and a half or so. And I could talk a lot, so you might want to direct me to what to
Well,
say.
tell them you found a property in Baltimore where you've been.
Yeah, so go ahead.
I'll soften it up for you. So she found a property in Baltimore where she's been in a nice area of Baltimore, close to Canton, and she's been attempting to do midterm rentals, renting out to nurses, travel nurses, and it hasn't been all that successful. So go ahead and tell us this, and be honest with us. Tell us about
Okay.
tell us about your journey so far with the midterm rentals.
Okay, our journey. So I will try to be short. I got really excited about real estate investing. And if anybody's on the line and they're excited and you want to become an entrepreneur in this industry, that's what you need. Excitement, a will to do it. So I just got inspired. And if you have a desire, go for it. You have the ability to do it. So that's me. I wanted to, and I literally took my retirement. I wasn't using it. So I was like, oh, I'm going to invest in getting this platform. So I did a nationwide platform to get some coaching, but I wanted something here in my neighborhood. And that's how I came to know, through my connections with the national platform, I came to know the Bennett Group in their boot camps, and they were very helpful, especially the walks, the real estate walks. So we got to know firsthand, you know, what these houses look like, their transformation. And then I got inspired even further. I said, okay, I could probably get a home and rent it out, maybe do a rent to own, because they say either you need money or time. And I said, oh, I have some time and I could do wholesaling. I could do the things that take a little more time. So I noticed I didn't have as much time as I thought I needed. So I said, okay, well, let's do these short-term, midterm rentals. And we went on a walk in Baltimore. The houses looked amazing. So I pulled some properties that met the criteria. The Bennett, Greg was super helpful and influential in how to narrow, my search down. So I went on the MLS, pulled some houses, and people were open. I didn't get any rent to owns. I kind of wanted that, but I got this arbitrage situation where you rent someone's property and then you rent out the room, something like what Dana's doing. He purchased it, but I rented it, and I'm going to make a profit by renting out rooms to traveling nurses. So that was super exciting. I'm going to be in Baltimore next to all of the hospitals and everything. So I find one by Johns Hopkins Bayview, and I fix it up, put some money in some furnish. You furnish it. The utilities are relatively cheap out there. The internet was cheap. So really, I thought it was nice furnishing. Internet there, smart TVs. And so I sought to market my property. I did some Facebook. I should probably go back to that now that I'm just talking it out, because people were just ringing my phone. And then I went to Furnish Finders because I wanted to be picky with who I wanted to stay in there. But the nurses were picky too. So a little more than, and they wanted to pay less. So then I started opening up. So real estate investing is a journey. I talked to Marquise, who's really into the Baltimore area, and also traveling nurses. And what I learned is, as you're in it, you got to get all in it. You learn how to make adjustments. You have to learn the market. You have to learn the area, and prices and what people are willing to pay goes up and down. So like Dana was saying, 2024 was rough for him. I think 2024 was just rough for most people that are in the renting market. I think the real estate market is still booming. The DC area is booming. You have hospitals and educational facilities, and there's so much availability out there. But 2024 for some people who just wanted to pay a lot less. So I did rent out a couple of my rooms, and I didn't rent out one that was still kind of covering it. I thought I could rent out for $1,500 a room. That didn't happen. I had to drop it a little bit to $1,200. And then people started calling my phone. I started getting some hits and things like that. But there's ups and downs with renting any type of renting, whether it's long-term or midterm. And you have to be willing to do that. But I grew a lot. So I'm excited growing as a business person. Sometimes you got to say, look, I need my money when it's time to collect the money. You can't always have that bleeding heart,
So,
because there's always somebody out there
so
that's trying to take advantage.
I think, and we'll sit down and talk, but I do think that there's lots of lessons here. It sounds like there was a management issue as well. And maybe in your situation, it sounds like maybe you should have had a property manager. Because if you're not going to be stern, like I know Dana's real stern with his properties, and a lot of our other colleagues are as well. And so in this, we've got to look at each property as its own separate business entity, no matter what the strategy. is you did a great job. You rented the basement out, you rented another room out upstairs, and just getting that other room. But my suggestion would be to persevere, keep going. You have your property on Furnish Finders. I would put it on Airbnb. I would also put it on Facebook Marketplace. I'm going to suggest a book later on. It'll be on the screen, but it's this book right here. And I think I suggested this book to you guys, to my coaching students long time ago, 30-Day Stay. 30-Day Stay by Sarah Weaver. It'll be on one of the slides. So you guys don't have to write it down right now. But I've read that book from cover to cover. I've got the audio version, and it just kind of gives you everything that you need. And like anything else, it's not easy. What Dana does is not easy. Renting to veterans, being part of the veteran program. What he does is not easy, but he perseveres. But what I would applaud you and Dana on is taking a leap of faith, going for it. And you guys have done that. Again, it's not going to be easy, but just keep going. And then with us continuing to network with each other, you guys reaching out, Dana reaches out all the time. But what I like about you and I reaching out, Kim, is that you don't argue back with me. And so I like having the conversations with you because it's a little easier. It's a little easier conversation. I'm messing with you, Dana. But me and Dana can go back and forth on room rental versus a long-term stay. I'm an advocate, everybody on the call. I'm a huge advocate. I like all the strategies, but you got to know who you are and how much time you have, like Kim said. That's the most important thing. I know, as busy as I am, I don't have time for a lot of turnover. I don't have time for that. So I like long-term voucher holders because it's little to no turnover. Yes, if you manage the short-term rentals and the midterm rentals, if you manage them well, you'll make more money. I just don't have that time to manage them. And so as part of learning today, we're going to talk about the different strategies. You've got to figure out what strategy fits you the best in terms of your time, in terms of your money, in terms of your effort. How much effort can you put into this? And then that'll determine what strategies you start off with and what strategies you eventually evolve into. Now, hopefully you evolve into some type of buy and hold strategy. I talked about the two strategies, the buy for cash strategy, short-term active income, versus the buy for cash flow, equity, and appreciation, long-term passive income. This is where you want to be. But like Dana can speak to, and maybe you could speak to it now, Dana, you've got to get the cash. You guys put your phones on mute. I think, Derek, your phone is, you've got to get the cash to then buy and hold. And that's one thing that I did see Dana do. So Dana, you want to talk a little bit about that, wholesaling, and then take cash to then buy and hold?
Yes. So as I came into your group, Greg, and you presented all the different methods like you're doing now, of course, I didn't have a lot of money at the time. So as you're doing now, I said wholesaling has to be my start. So I started with wholesaling, and I figured while I'm wholesaling and being close, and I purposely picked Greg to be my go-to person for my wholesale properties. I did that on purpose because I wanted to be close to him and learn more because I didn't know much at all. I'm brand new. So I started wholesaling, and one led to another, and then my amounts on my wholesales grew tremendously. And that allowed me to start to buy and hold. And at the same time, because I selected Greg as my go-to person, him
When
being
you
the
say,
cash buyer, because he was doing a lot of flipping at that time, that that allowed me to learn more. Because I was side by side with him a lot, more than I would have been had I have done something different. So that was my strategy to wholesale with Greg, because I know he had the information that I needed. So yeah, so I did that, and then as I accumulated enough funds to purchase, again, going to him for the knowledge to go to the next adventure, which is buying and holding. I did one at a time, and now I have several properties. All that happened under his tutelage, under your tutelage is how all that happened.
and so, like Dana said, for many of you guys, wholesaling is either the best way to get started or a way. Your focus can be on one of the buy and hold strategies, but there's going to come a time, if you do enough marketing, that you're not going to be able to buy every property or every good deal, which means you've got to have some type of exit strategy. One of which your fallback should always be on wholesaling. You should never ever think, well, I'm not going to pursue this particular property, even though it's a good deal, because I just don't have the wherewithal to buy and hold. The solution is I'm going to pursue it and wholesale it to possibly somebody in this group, and still make no shame in making 10,000, 15,000, 20,000. I always try to get Dana to speak about his biggest or his bigger wholesale deals. But I think I'm gonna leave you alone this time, Dana.
Oh, okay.
Dana had a six-figure, maybe two. Was it one or two six-figure wholesale deals?
Two.
Two six-figure wholesale deals, which is not the norm, but it is doable, especially if you run across a deal that's a probate. Then you can get, you can find bigger deals.
But real quick, Greg, let me say that those six-figure wholesale deals without you could have been much smaller amount, because somebody could have worked me, because I didn't know anything. But because I got right beside you, you showed me how to work those properties to the best of my benefit. And I
Yeah,
appreciate it.
yeah, I think that speaks to mentorship, coaching, and it just being around all the right people. I think that's important. That's going to save
That's important.
that's going to save you guys a whole lot of money. I didn't have that growing up, but I didn't have that coming up as a real estate investor, and because of that, I lost money on deals. I just didn't know. So that's always important. But anyway, let's talk about wholesaling. And so wholesaling, and keep in mind, I've been investing for many years, and I wholesale as well here and there, where if it's something that's not in what we call my buy box, it's something that I don't want personally, then I'll just wholesale. I'll wholesale it to my students, to some of my real estate agents, to my colleagues that want to buy and hold that fits their buy box, fits what they're looking for. And so wholesaling is truly just finding a property below market, putting it under contract, and then assigning that contract to what we call a cash buyer. As a wholesaler, you are not buying the property. You're just assigning that property to another cash buy. In the end, I sent you guys should have received a purchase and sales agreement and a assignment agreement for wholesaling. We'll go over those things. So that's what wholesaling is. And again, you guys, this is interactive. If you guys have questions, don't let me go past a slide and there's something that you don't understand. Have you done any wholesaling, Kim?
I attempted that one. but
The one in Suitland? Suitland?
Clinton. Yeah,
Clinton.
it was Clinton. Yeah, Clinton. So I got some leads. I called them up, and this one guy he just kind of went back and forth with me. I I was able to give him the maximum allowable um offer, and then he didn't want it. He kind of made me feel bad because he was like, "I'm not interested in this low ball offer." And I said, "Fine." The first question was, "How much do you want for the property?" I didn't want to insult anyone. So I gave him based on our calculations. I gave him a number. He turned me down. Then a few weeks later, he said, "Well, what were you offering?" So then he was kind of open, and we went from there. But a series of events happened, and I just
So
didn't feel like playing games.
I'm glad you bring that point up because the way I wholesale now is, so I do a lot of marketing and we'll talk about that. But the way I wholesale now is I make my offers right over the phone without even seeing the property. And so I'll run my comps. I'll say, Mr. or Miss Seller, do you have an idea what you want to sell the property for? In most cases, they'll say, please make me an offer. And then I will make them an offer. I want you guys to take out a pen and paper. I want to go over the Mayo formula really, really quickly. I make them an offer right over the phone without seeing the property. And because I do it this way now, I'm able to do what we call virtual wholesaling, where now I'm able to wholesale properties. I wholesale the property in North Carolina without even seeing the property. But here's the formula that I use. It's a standard formula that real estate investors use to determine whether it's a good deal or not, whether it's a good deal if you're a real estate wholesaler, whether or not it's a good deal if you're buying and holding, if you're fixing and flipping, it doesn't matter. There's a method to our madness. And I stick to the formula, you guys. I stick to the formula. I'll take 70%. So write down 70%. And I multiply 70% of the ARV, after repair value. So 70% of the after repair value minus the repair costs. That's the formula that I use, especially if I'm fixing and flipping properties. And so write down 300,000, 3K. And let's multiply that 300,000. Let's say the after repair value is 300,000. It's a property. Let's just say it's in East Baltimore. Once it's completely renovated, it's worth 300,000. We're going to take 70% of that. That's going to give us 210,000. Now we're going to subtract the repair costs. Let's say, as an example, it needs $60,000 in repairs. So it needs $60,000 in repairs, which means our MAO, our maximum allowable offer, is 150,000. Is everybody with me? You got to get the math. This is the investor math. You got to get this math. And this is what I'm going to offer the motivated seller. I'm going to offer them, in this scenario, 150,000. Let's take one more scenario. Let's say that I'm a wholesaler. You are a wholesaler. Dana's a wholesaler. He's looking at this property. If Dana knows that I'm going to buy this property, being a cash buyer, or maybe even someone that's going to buy and hold this property, and I'm going to buy it, he's done his math. He already knows I'm going to buy it at 150. Dana's saying to himself, I got to get it a little lower than that. If I'm going to assign my contract to Greg, I have to get it a little lower than that. So Dana's math is going to be 65%, a 5% difference. So he's going to take 65%, multiply that by 300,000, and get, I believe he's going to get 195,000. Somebody check my math. 195,000. He's going to subtract the same repair costs of 60,000. My math right? And he's going to get 135,000. So his MAO as a wholesaler is 135,000. He's going to offer the seller 135,000. That's his maximum allowable offer, and he's going to try to lock up that deal for 135,000. If he's able to lock the deal up at 135,000, and he already knows that I'll buy it at 150, he's going to assign that contract using an assignment agreement to me for 15 and make a quick $15,000, 2 weeks, 3 weeks. That's wholesaling, you guys. And this is the part that wholesalers make their biggest mistakes. They don't understand the math. They put the properties under contract, and then they have no one to assign the contracts to. They don't have, we build what's called a cash buyers list. There's many different ways to what we call dispo the property, assign the property. But this is basically the math. There's no shame, you guys. If you have a question, please ask questions here. This is the most important part of real estate investing. Honestly, whether you're wholesaling, buying and holding, or fixing and flipping, as I said yesterday, you are making your money when you purchase the property, which means you've got to buy the property right. Any questions?
Yeah, I have questions. So 2 quick questions. The first one is, has it ever happened where, you have a contract under, you have a property under contract, and the pretty much the assignee, so whoever you've talked to sign the contract to, they actually kind of bypass or undercut you and contact the buyer and say, hey, I can give you a little bit more money. So like that 5% kind of cushion that Dana is like hoping to bank, right? Hoping to pocket. Has that ever happened, that use case? No.
It can happen, and that it's a great question. But keep in mind, Dana already has that property locked up.
Yeah.
Dana's already under contract.
Mm-hmm.
Now, has it happened in my career where someone like Dana has the property already locked up and somebody still tries to circumvent him even though it's locked up? That has happened.
Okay.
And so it's a good question because if you guys notice, when Dana said he would find properties, and Dana can find properties, Dana does HVAC. So he's out in the field all the time. And so he's learned how to, when he finds a property that looks to be vacant or abandoned, he knows how to contact the owners. One thing that I don't know if you guys caught Dana say is he's assigning his contracts basically to people that he knows. So which in his early days, I'm going to say in his early days, he would assign them to me.
Okay.
And of course, he knows that I'm not going to, I'm his mentor, I'm his coach. We play fair. And so I'm not going to go behind his back. And so, I would say, I wouldn't worry about that. I would say, number one, lock it up. Number two, on your assignment agreement, make sure you collect an earnest money deposit. Make sure that the deposit goes to the title company. There's 2 deposits. There's a deposit on the purchase and sales agreement on the contract, and then there's a deposit for your assignment agreement. Assignment money. Make sure that both earnest monies go to the title company.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And so, go ahead, Dana.
I also want to give Ms. Francis 2 pieces of advice. One is to definitely do business with someone especially starting out. And 2, to be careful with your address, with your information. Don't just, before you get under contract, don't just go spilling that out to people. Because what you're saying can happen is really competitive out here. But the most important is to be dealing with somebody you are comfortable with. The reason I joined Greg's group because I realized I could trust him. And that meant everything in the world as far as my success is concerned.
Okay.
Because I've seen it happen. What you just brought up, I've seen it happen.
Okay.
But don't let it scare you. Just be careful and get with somebody who you really trust.
Yeah.
Those are just the two pieces of advice I wanted to give.
And my next question is, so for like a novice wholesaler, right? Has there ever been a use case where, you know, the numbers just weren't crunched right, and then the wholesaler is pretty much sitting on a deal that they can't offload? And then what happens in that case, right? What's their out?
Good question, Akia. So I don't know if you guys received my contract or not. But at any rate, there's a couple outs in the contract. There's a couple what we call contingencies in the contract. So there's a contingency for financing. There's a contingency for inspection. What that really means for us or for you is you got a certain time period. Those contingencies are normally about 10 days. What that means for you is you've got 10 days to lock up a cash buyer. That's what that really means. So if you don't on the 9th day, you know, you will withdraw the contract. So that's number one. Number two, the way I want you guys to do wholesaling is what's called reverse wholesaling. I want you to find your cash buyer before you even put the property under contract. So Dana, as an example, there's a property in Landover, and Dana said, "Greg, come with me. I found this property. I'm driving around, found this property. Come go to the appointment with me." Long story short, I went to the appointment with Dana, and I offered the lady a certain amount of money, and she went for it. And so it was Dana's deal, but Dana already had me. And so we did the contract. Now, a side piece to the story is I negotiated with the lady. And so we walk outside and Dana said, "You could have did a better job than that." But anyway, is that a true story, Dana?
That's true. That's true. Yes.
Anyway, we did the deal. So Dana had me from day one. And so we wrote the contract, wrote the assignment agreement. Dana didn't have to worry about a cash buyer because I went and looked at the property with him. Or what Dana or another wholesaler might do is say, "Look, I'm getting ready to go look at this property at 123 Elm Street. Can you please give me an idea of what you would buy it for?" And this is someone you trust. You might say, "Well, if you can lock it up for 350, I might say I'll buy it." And so you do everything you can to lock it up for 350. So now you've got a buyer going in. So the stress is not necessarily on you on finding a cash buyer. You know, when you locked it up, when you put it under contract, you just made probably in that case almost $30,000.
Got it. All right. Thank you. And I know, Dana, you're like in the field due to your, being an HVAC technician, but like outside of that, it's like people kind of like using cold call companies or, driving for keys. Is that kind of how these, like, I don't foresee people like doing this from, properties on MLS, not saying it's not possible, but just curious.
Well, driving for dollars has been my forte and what has worked for me because while I'm out doing my regular one business that's creating my income, I'm doing this as well. I'm driving for dollars as well. So that's what I've kind of stuck with. Keith Bennett has taught me how to cold call. I haven't implemented a whole lot of that yet, but I'm ready to get with that and do more of that because I have a long list of addresses that I need to really lock those properties up. From driving for dollars, my list is extremely long, and I need to do something about that. And Chief is the one who taught me in the first place how to cold call. So, because we used to have a cold calling class. So he and I, actually, we've already had discussions about that, getting back to that and start locking some of these properties up.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
All right, any other questions, you guys? I don't want Akia to dominate the conversation.
Greg, this is Derek Funderburg.
What's up, Derek?
All right. Can you hit that Mayo one more time on the 65%? I want to make sure my numbers are right when I figured it.
All right, so Derek, all right, so we're gonna multiply 65% of the 300,000. 300,000 represents the after repair value, what a house is worth once it's completely renovated.
Right.
All right.
So that brings you to 190. Is that right?
Is it 190?
Yeah.
Okay.
Hold on. Because my yeah, I get this new Apple
It's
thing.
190. I think it's 195.
It's 195.
195. Yeah, 195. Right.
All right, so it brings you to 195, Derek.
Yes.
And we're gonna subtract the repair cost.
Okay.
And I'm gonna guess that the repair cost is about 20% of the after repair value without looking at the property. So in this case, 20% is 300,000.
Okay.
Here's a lesson, you guys. If you guys find a property, you don't have a coach or a mentor or contractor around you, you've got to guess what the repair cost is. I always use 20%. As an investor, I'm generally renovating at about 20% of that repair value. But anyway, and so we're going to subtract that 195 by $60,000. We're going to get 135,000.
Right. Okay. I got that.
That 135 represents what you're going to offer the motivated seller.
Okay.
You with me?
Yes, sir.
Now, in our classes, in our coaching program, we teach you not to offer the 135.
Right. You start off lower.
We start off lower. And
Yes,
then
sir.
we negotiate to our number.
Right.
Or we ask them, do you have an idea of what you want to sell the house for? And then we go from there. They may say 135. If they say 135, we're not meeting them at 135. If we say, do you have an idea in this case of what you want to sell the house for? They say 135. We say, oh, well, we were thinking 125. And
Exactly.
then it's easy to meet them halfway at 130. Now we've got the property for about $5,000 better than we thought we would. But that's all negotiating.
Definitely. I'm getting a refresher here. I've done it, but it's been a while.
Okay. All right. You with me, Derek?
Yes, sir.
All right. All right. So this is Dana. I don't remember Dana lifting weights or anything like that, but that's Dana. I think what's it called when you put somebody's head on someone's body? What's that? Is that?
No, that comes from lifting them condensers.
There you go.
I'm an HVAC guy as well.
Oh, you are?
Yeah, I'm retired from it. That's
Okay.
why I'm back.
So this is one of the ones that Dana made 6 figures on. And unfortunately, we just don't have time to get into that. But it trust me, whenever you hear someone talk about a wholesale deal and it's probably over $30,000, $40,000, $50,000, it was probably a probate deal. There's more juice, there's more money in probate because 80% of the people who pass away owing real estate, and 70% of them own real estate free and clear. And their heirs, the Gen Xers, are never in a position to keep the money. The Gen Xers are brokered and broke. So that was a little joke, but it's true. So they're selling their properties really quickly. So you have a lot of investors that just focus on probate, and we're able to get probate lists. And some wholesale those deals, some hold those properties, and some flip those properties. Let's talk about the number of different buy and hold strategies. We've talked about a lot of them. We buy and hold for passive income. We buy and hold for cash flow and appreciation. I want you guys in your lifetimes to buy and hold as many properties as you can, but at least one property. And if you can buy and hold two properties, you guys, you're just so far ahead. Because I think I mentioned this yesterday, the national average is properties double in value in about 17 years. Here in our area in the DMV, about 15 years. So if you can buy a property today, and let's say it's worth 400, but as an investor, we buy it for let's just say 300. So we bought a property for 300, which meant we bought it right. We pay it down, we fix it up and get our tenants to pay it down, and then eventually pay it off. And let's say our goal is to pay it off in those 15 years. You've got a property that's worth in 15 years, 800,000, and you bought it for 300,000. Now your tenants are paying that off. So the cash on cash is tremendous. But just think to yourself what a property that in this case that's worth 800,000, what could that do for you? Let's just say in 15 years. And then let's just say you have two, that's 1.6. Like what are your options there? You can sell those properties for 1.6. It won't be quite 1.6 because of capital gain taxes. You can hold on to those properties and continue to get the cash flow. You can refinance and get lump sums of money out, which is not a taxable event, and then invest that money or do something else. There's lots of things that you can do. The key, though, is buy properties and hold them as soon as you can. And don't make the mistake that I made. I started buying properties at 23 years old. After about 5, I sold off a couple properties thinking that I was going to sell those properties, take the cash and buy bigger properties. And one thing led to another, and I just never did it. And so I have a lot of regrets about that. I want you guys to buy properties despite what anybody says to you and hold on to those properties. There could be life events that you have to sell, but do everything you can once you're able to acquire property to hold on to it for the rest of your life. One day you'll thank me. That little old man named Greg Bennett, he told me to hold on to these properties. And all right, so this is Diana. She's been through our program. She bought this property in Woodridge many years ago. Did you ever meet Diana, Dana?
I did, yes.
And so she's got incredible cash flow now. This was years ago. She's got equity in her property. She's pulled out some of her equity. She does a lot of condo conversions and things like that now. One of the strategies that we use is short-term rentals or Airbnb. I'd like that, but for me personally, the Airbnb market is oversaturated, it's overregulated. And for me personally, as busy as I am, I just don't have the wherewithal to, there's a lot of maintenance and management. You've got people coming out of your property every week. And so, which means there's something that you've got to do every week. And for me, it just doesn't fit my model, my buy box. Probably with all the strategies, Airbnb done correctly, you probably can make the most money because you've got money coming in and out like every week, every 3 or 4 days with short-term rental. Midterm rental, we talked about, there's the book. If you're into short-term rental, we'll send you this PowerPoint, but write down this information. This is the blueprint, in my opinion, for short-term rentals. And many of you want to do short-term rentals, and I would advise you to do so. as long as you know that, as we were talking to Kim, it's not easy. And there's more and more competition with midterm rentals because now a lot of the short-term rental investors are getting into midterm rentals because it's a little less maintenance than short-term rentals. Lisa,
Can I say something,
go ahead, Kim.
Greg? Yeah, I just want to say when it comes to Baltimore City, you have to rent for at least 3 months. That's their requirement to get a rental license if you're going to rent out rooms. So they kind of chopped off your ability to do Airbnbs unless they're going to stay there for 3 months or more. I think they just want people, they put a lot of investment in hotels and they don't really want to take away that revenue in Baltimore. They're trying to build them up in that way. So unless you live in the house. So the regulation is if you do like a house hack type of deal, you can do an Airbnb and rent short term if you live there. But if you don't live there, and you're renting a room of non-related people, it has to be 3 months minimum.
That works for midterm rentals because generally the travel nurse contract is 3 months. And then often they extend for another 3 months. So that works for midterm rentals. Short-term rentals, it really doesn't work. Lease options. I've done a number of lease options. Somebody mentioned, I think Kim mentioned lease options. This is a strategy. Moving from DC to Bowie, Maryland, I was a young real estate agent in my late 20s, early 30s. And I was showing properties. And I showed this property in Bowie, Maryland, 4-bedroom, 2.5 bath, colonial in the middle of a cul-de-sac back to a lake. And I showed that property to a client. Client didn't want it. And I said, man, for me at that time, it was a dream home. And I didn't have the wherewithal to buy that property. So I offered the agent a lease option for 2 years because I bet on myself that I would have the financing in 2 years. Long story short, they went for my lease option. I put up a small deposit, non-refundable, and then I paid every month. And then in the 2 years, I was able to get the financing, bought the property, and the deposit I put up went towards my earnest money deposit, and it all worked out. Now, generally speaking, lease options don't work out because the person doing the option, with the option, they're not ready. They're not ready financially. So you've got to focus on, if you're wanting to do it, you've got to really focus on either being ready to buy in the 2 years, or what some people do is they buy the property with an option to purchase and to sublease. And so you can sublet the property out and make some cash flow all along the way. And so that's an option too. Some people with challenge credit, they do that. Speaking of Airbnb, there's a lot of people across the country that have 60, 100 different Airbnbs. They don't own any of them. They do a lease option or what's called a master lease and lease those properties out and then sublet them out in certain areas as Airbnbs. House hacking. The true definition of house hacking is having like a multi-family property, let's say a 4-unit, and you rent out one of the units and rent out the other 3, and then allow your tenants to, to pay the mortgage. By doing so, 4 units or less, it's the financing is a lot easier. It's owner-occupied financing. So if it's an FHA loan, you're only putting down 2.5%, 3.5%. So you're putting down a lot less. Nowadays, on investor loans, you're putting down about 20%. And then you just have to live in that property for a year replace yourself and then duplicate what you just did. Find another 4-unit if you want, and buy it owner occupied and get the financing a lot cheaper. That's what house hacking is. And so a lot of people do house hacking. Fixing and flipping. Fixing and flipping, when we talk about the buy for cash strategy, fixing and flipping is the best. It's better than wholesaling. But what comes with that is high risk. So what we like to say is high risk, high reward. Of all the strategies that I will ever talk about, fixing and flipping, you can lose the most amount of money. You've got to know what you're doing. There's a lot of moving parts. You've got to, number one, you've got to buy the property right. You've got to get the right financing. You've got to get the right contractors. You've got to renovate the property right with all the right finishes, depending on the area. And depending on the area, the finishes can differ. But I've got some buddies of mine that all they do, one buddy I'm thinking of now, all he does is fix and flip. But now he's gotten to the point where he buys for $1 million, sells for like 3 million or 2.5 million. And so he's profiting about $1 million per flip. And he prefers to do it that way because even if there's mistakes made, he might not make $1 million, but he'll make $500,000. But fixing and flipping, I would highly advise, if this is what you want to do, to initially start off with a partner that has lots of experience flipping. That's how I got started flipping. There was a real estate agent in my office, Thurman Battle, that just knew how to flip properties. And so I was young and energetic. I'm still kind of young and energetic, but I could find the properties. And so I was real good at finding properties. I always prided myself on finding properties. And so I would find the properties and he would renovate the properties. And we became partners. We both put up our money and split the profits. After a period of time of observing what's going on, watching the contractors, watching the process, I thought, shoot, I don't know, but I love Thurman, but I think I can do this on my own. And so many years ago, I started doing them on my own. And so that's what Dana was saying. Dana was saying he started wholesaling, but then he would follow me around on my projects. And so that gave him the confidence to start buying and holding. You guys, sometimes it costs money, but you get further in life. Even now, I'm part of a mastermind, having some type of coaching, mentorship, that kind of thing. Just simply being around the right people. I had a sales meeting last night with my real estate agents, and I kind of went around a small panel of my agents and said, what was sort of life-changing for you in 2024? And we went around and they talked about it. And then one said, well, what was it for you? And I said, just joining this mastermind where I'm around like all the top people, it really took my game to the next level. And it's just true. It's just lots of cliches, but it's just true. But fixing and flipping is one thing that I would not do on my own. I would do as a partner. You've got to know what the scope of works are. You got to put together draw schedules. You've got to be there to manage contractors. I may have mentioned this yesterday, but the biggest challenge that we have in our industry for investing is, in my opinion, is contractors. It's the biggest challenge. It doesn't mean that it's going to hold you back, because it doesn't. But you've got to take your time and choose the right contractor. This is Erica. Erica was part of our program before the pandemic. She found this property in Baltimore. This is actually West Baltimore, by the golf course. She found this property on Hubzu. is one of the sites, auction sites. So she found this property. Purchase price is $95,000. She put $70,000 into the property. She found her contractor at a meetup, at like a RIA meeting. Had a few issues. I went out to the property a few times, had a few issues. One right before settlement, but she got through it all and she made a $50,000 profit. It was her first flip, but she did a lot of due diligence, lots of due diligence. She was at the project almost every single day, and she did a great job. She bought that property. She took part of her $50,000 and bought an Airbnb in Orlando, and stayed there throughout the pandemic. Commercial real estate, some of you guys may be interested in commercial real estate, multifamily. I will tell you that commercial real estate is really down now. The commercial realtors are starving. Who can tell me why? What's a quick answer? Why is commercial real estate down?
The pandemic.
Banks aren't financing.
All the above. Banks aren't financing.
People working from home.
All the above. So I would stay away from commercial real estate. Multifamily, definitely. We have a number of us that are into multifamily. Multifamily is great, but commercial real estate, I would tend to stay away from. I was talking to a gentleman that does a lot of private lending. And so he told me that that's all he wants to do now. He bought and held a property, I think he said in West Virginia. He tried to flip a property. None of that was for him. None of that was for him. He just didn't have like the wherewithal, the patience for tenants. He didn't want to deal with the 3 T's, tenants, toilets, and termites. All he wanted to do, all he wants to do now, and he did it before, is just lend money, 10%. And so for those of you guys that may be on in this meeting, that all that I'm saying seems to be very intimidating, and you don't want to go through all that I'm talking about, it's fine. What's for you is for you. No one's forcing you to do any of these things, but if you do have money and you want to lend, you can make money that way. And so there's a lot of private lenders out here. We'll talk more about hard money lenders on Thursday, but there's people like realtors, people in the federal government with 401ks that are willing to lend money at a certain percentage. And as you guys grow as real estate investors, you're going to see that at certain points, you're going to start to run out of money. You're going to start to run out of cash. And so you're going to need somebody else's cash. You're going to have to leverage other people's money. And so part of what you want to do as time moves on is find people who have money and allow them to lend you money. Obviously, you've got to have proof of concept and to be able to show them that, but you will. And so, so you're going to need money, but then also, like I said, there's other people that's all they want to do. I've got people that's all it. Greg, I got $50,000. You need it. I've got $100,000. You need it. Things like that. Because they don't want to. They're good with what they're doing. They've got great lives. They don't want to take some of the perceived risk. And so you can be a private lender. I want you to start thinking about choosing the right strategy for you. And that's part of the key takeaways. What do you need in your life right now? Do you need cash flow, appreciation? Do you need more time for yourselves? Whatever that might be, do you need all of the above? But whatever that is, I want you guys to really try to figure out what it is that you need, and then choose the right strategy for what you need. Ultimately, though, my strategy for you is one of the buy and hold strategies. You might say, well, I don't have the cash right now, I don't have the credit. Then you need to start wholesaling. When you're wholesaling, no one's looking at your credit. You're not putting up any credit. You need little to no cash. You just need effort. And we'll talk about what effort means tomorrow in terms of marketing. That's all you really need. And we'll teach you how to market. Again, the investor that can find the most deals is going to make the most money. I want you guys to start thinking about your strategy and what that's going to be. The next steps are to really align yourself with like-minded people who are doing what you want to do. If you want to do midterm rentals, you got to start aligning yourself with people who are doing midterm rentals. Short-term, long-term. I'm more of a long-term Section 8 person, but I've done it all and I do it all. And that's what I want for you guys. I want you guys to know that in a very short period of time, your lives can change just by being around the right people, taking just a little bit of calculated risk. One wholesale deal. Dana, you still with us?
Yes.
Your first wholesale deal, how did it make you feel?
Oh, it really invigorated me because I was in the program and nothing was happening at first. I was, like I said, I was attending every session, everything you did, I was attending, and nothing was clicking. And then that really set my motivation on fire when that happened. It wasn't for a very large amount, but it was for me, it was success. It was a jump. It was a kickstart.
And then you started opening your mouth. You started talking to people. You
Yes.
started networking.
Yes.
When you made that first 6-figure wholesale deal, how'd you feel inside, Dana?
Oh, so now my first deal wasn't a 6-figure, but once I made the first 6-figure, I really felt like I was on top of the world because I said I can keep doing this. If that can happen once, that can keep happening. So, and then I got another one. And so yeah, it was really good for me.
And like I said yesterday, you guys, that's how you're going to feel. It's just investing in real estate, whether it's a wholesale deal, buy and hold. It's just really a sense of accomplishment. And it's something that's very, very doable. Honestly, you guys, this is not rocket science stuff, but it's just about getting the education and then taking a leap of faith, betting on yourself and setting high goals. Like you guys, we'll talk tomorrow about goals, but I want you guys to have goals for 2025. And I want you to every single day do something, a little baby step that's going to lead towards whatever that goal is. And then allow us to help you with those goals.
And Greg, real quick, to your credit, Greg, signing up with you has changed my life. My life would never be the same.
Do I owe you for saying that?
No, you paid me over and over and over. You paid me. You more than paid me, and I appreciate it. I just want you to know that I appreciate you, man, because this wouldn't be happening to me if I hadn't
I
came to you.
feel like, Dana, I feel like it's not real unless you start crying right now.
Well, I just can't see the tears behind my glasses. I don't want, it's a lot of people in front. Just when you and I get together, I can really
Oh
share.
no, don't cry in front of me. Don't do that. Don't do that. Don't do that, Dana.
Okay.
All right, Anisha is asking, is a license or education needed for wholesaling? Definitely not a license, Anisha, but definitely I would say some type of education. You do need education for whatever you do. Definitely education. I'm going to so tomorrow I'm going to talk about how to find deals, you guys. I will start to talk tomorrow more about what our coaching program is, and that's the education that Dana's been through, Kim. Have we had anybody else on here in our program? I think Keith with somebody, a few other people are due in tomorrow. And so that's the education. You do need, with anything, you do need education. And you do need to be around the right people. And part of us starting Bennett boot camps is we just wanted an affordable education. So our education is affordable. We take you out in the field. That's why we only focus on one area. That's the DMV. And so Dana, Kim, we go out in the field. We call them shadowy events, but they're really house tours. And so we'll tour a few houses. For some reason, we end up a lot in Baltimore, but we tour in DC and Prince George's County. We always end up, they always talk me into taking them to some type of lunch. So we'll go to lunch and just discuss what we just looked at. We're on site, so they're asking a lot of questions. And it's a good experience. You can learn, but for so much, virtually like this or in the book, you've got to get out in the field. And so we take our people out in the field to different types of neighborhoods. What's the best strategy for this neighborhood? Should you be buying in this neighborhood? Those kinds of things. We look at foreclosures, things like that. All right, you guys. There's a few other things that I want to go over. I think Keith might be texting me saying you're talking too much. Let me see. Any questions, you guys? Any questions? Any questions or comments? All right, so we look forward to seeing you tomorrow. Kim, are you still on here? Okay.
This is Anisha. I'm sorry, was a little slow finding my mute button. The documents that you sent us, what could you describe them so if I know if I got them all, please?
It doesn't. I sent you guys a purchase and sales agreement and a assignment agreement, everything that you needed to write a contract, and on the wholesale side, an assignment agreement. But it doesn't sound like you all received it. Did you guys receive an email from us this morning?
Yeah, I got one.
Okay. All right. It sounds like the attachment didn't make it.
I just got the attachment with the documents.
Say that again, Dana?
I received the attachment with the documents.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes.
I don't think you went through our funnel though, Dana.
Oh.
Anyway, we'll resend those documents tomorrow morning.
Greg, I have it.
Excuse me, Greg. I have something outside to do before it gets too dark. Sorry for being excused.
No, go ahead, Dana.
All right.
We're done anyway.
Yeah, right.
Greg,
All right. Thanks a lot. Thank you, everyone. Y'all take.
All right.
Thanks a lot, Dana.
Thank you.
All right. Bye.
Greg,
Yes.
Oh.
I've received the documents, the purchase agreement and the assignment contract.
Okay. All right. We'll resend it anyway. We'll resend
Okay.
it.
See you tomorrow.
Okay.
Sorry. Greg, I know we're at time, but I do have one quick question. I know you own property in like DC as well as Maryland, of course. And I'm very pro Section 8 tenant as well for my buy-in holds. Is navigating the Section 8 process on like with DCHA and DC, is it very similar in Maryland? Or there's like notable differences?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I've never had an issue.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't think so. I've always had great luck with Section 8.
Okay.
It just fits for me and my buy box and my lifestyle. It just fits. And so I've had some long-term tenants. I'll probably have some tenants that will actually pay off the property. Because I try to treat them well. Section 8 almost forces them to treat the property well. Because Section 8 is, they do inspections now.
Yeah.
And in most cases, there's a waiting list to get into the program. And because of that, nobody wants to get kicked out the program and either not be able to get back in or to get back in the get back onto the waiting list.
Mm-hmm.
They do a good job taking care of the property, some better than what you could take care of the property.
Yeah, yeah. And again, I'm already singing the praises of Section 8 tenants. I was actually talking to another DC investor, and he was like, he was wary for as far as breaking into Baltimore City, going the Section 8 route, which he also is. And then he made the comment, and I would love to hear your thoughts if there's any validity here. He was like, "Oh, I reckon the caliber of Section 8 tenants in Baltimore City is lower than DC." And that thought didn't even cross my mind. But because DC, you could very much find like creme de la creme Section 8 tenants, right? But did you see any differences as far as like the pool of Section 8 tenants in Baltimore City versus DC? That was just okay.
Not at all.
Okay.
One. Number two, this conversation has to stay here because it's kind of against fair housing even to have this kind of conversation.
Okay. Oh, okay. Sorry.
But I don't see the difference.
Yeah.
I don't see the difference. You do get to vet the tenants.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So you do get to vet them. Just keep in mind that you can't turn them down on the basis of them being in the Section 8 program.
Of course. Yeah.
Or their background or credit or anything like that. You can't turn them down on the basis of that.
Yes.
They just have some what's it called? It's not called, well, one is source of income, but anyway, familiar status. Anyway, but you vet, you vet them. You get you are allowed to check their credit, even if they are Section 8. You are allowed to do a background check. You are allowed to get referrals from their current landlord, and of which you should. But I don't see any difference in the type of people. I don't see. It's just people. It's just ordinary people that for one reason or another needs a little help from the government.
Yeah. Okay.
And that's what I see.
All right.
And you guys keep that conversation to yourselves.
Yeah. And in my defense, these were his comments, not mine, right? I was just
You're asking for a friend?
Yeah, no, seriously. No, this was a conversation I had. I'm not like, oh, I'm asking for a friend and these are my thoughts. Cause I was like, yeah, I feel really comfortable with the Section 8 process and Section 8 tenants. Again, I'm super pro Section 8 tenants. So yeah.
Okay.
Thanks.
I think those are good questions.
Yeah.
Okay. Anybody else? All right. Well, I just want to thank everybody for being here. I look forward to speaking with you tomorrow. We'll resend the contracts. I want you guys to have the contracts. Who knows, you might run into a deal and need to write a contract. If that happens, call me so I can help you write the contract. Tomorrow's focus is going to be on finding deals, which in my opinion is the most important part, is finding deals. And so I've got like a top 5 ways of finding deals, what's working now. Some things worked 5 years ago that doesn't work today. And so I'll be speaking towards, what's really working in today's market in terms of finding motivated sellers. With that being said, if there's no other questions, God bless you guys. Take care, and we will talk tomorrow. Good night, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. Very informative.
Thank you.